All right, Yellowjackets. It's that time of the week again. It's time to huddle up, talk about the new episode that just dropped. And did this episode drop a lot? There's a lot of things that
Yeah.
happened. And, surprisingly, we talked about how this show is kind of you take one step forward, two steps back with more questions. There was a lot of stuff that was finally answered in this episode. There's also some new things that I have questions about, but I was not expecting to get this many things all in
Yeah.
this episode.
Anyone
And
who said this season was slow, I feel like it was really setting the stage for the batshit craziness that is going to be the next couple episodes. I
you
feel
mean
like it
the Shauna dictatorship that's about to
exactly. Now
happen?
that Shauna's in power, I don't think she's giving that up anytime soon. So things are about to get really a lot worse as they get snowy. So I'm excited because I feel like we've gotten a lot of answers to things. There's more questions, but I feel like overall a lot of questions have been answered and like not there's not as I don't feel like as unsure as I do with other shows that like do they have a through line? Do they know where they're going with these things or is this going to disappear or not mean anything? I feel like we're getting partial answers, we're learning certain things. There's definitely more, but like I think through season 3 of like a 5 season planned show. So I feel
Hmm.
like we're on the back end, and I think even like the ending of this episode, which we'll get to, is something that the showrunner said that they had in their original pitch for the show. So
Yeah.
they said it was really
That
cool to finally get to that point in the script.
yeah.
And I feel
Well,
like, yeah, we're at that point now. Shit's going down and we're getting fucking answers, and I could not be more full of joy.
let's start with the thing that neither of us thought was going to happen because we've been talking about it so much. Ben finally kicked the bucket.
I know. I was such a Ben Lives truther for like so
Same.
long. I was like really hanging on to the fact. And like the fact that he hung in there so long, I was like, all right. I I know last week I knew somewhere in my heart of hearts that like the Achilles thing, that's gonna be pretty much Ben's donezo. Like there's no way he's coming back from that in the state that he was already in and the
Yeah.
state that he continues to be. I feel like that whole montage of like the seasons changing a little bit, so it's like more fall time was done really, really well to like establish it's not summer anymore. It's not fully like desperate times, but like man, watching like Ben just beg Natalie to give him a weapon to kill himself every day was like pretty fucking rough. Although I've never related to Ben more, so but it was sad. I knew where it was going. I think like that whole montage and like just the feelings behind it, I was like, yeah, I love Ben, but he is not long for this world, unfortunately. I just feels like his storyline is so tragic and I don't know. It was really upsetting, but I feel like honestly I'm kind of a little relieved because I'm glad he doesn't have to suffer and that it's actually I think they did it really well with Nat being the one to take him out.
Yeah, and that scene was so good, like just the actor's performance because it wasn't even like they played it up into like gore or anything. Like it was just like a little bit of sound, but it was just their faces like looking at each other as they did it. Like you
Yeah.
could just feel the way it was kind of like reminded me of the scene where they were like going to shoot him and like Ben's just like pleading, like please don't. And yeah, like it was so good. And then, God, I love Misty. Teen Misty is just the best. And when she was like mourning him, I was like, it's his first boyfriend. That's
An
a big loss.
amputation. And he died after you were force feeding him fucking food like he's an animal. It was just like poor Misty. I mean, I know, sorry, poor Ben. But also, yeah, I did feel a little bit bad for Misty. And then also like the fucked up part of her kissing him finally. I was like, oh boy, Ben's looking at this going, "Ugh, at least I'm dead."
Yeah.
But it's like, of course, Misty's like probable first kiss ever is with a corpse. That tracks.
I did not
That
think about that. That is,
definitely fucking tracks. That's what's interesting. This episode, maybe go back and rewatch season 1. I'm gonna start season 2 again. But I feel like things are just hitting differently, knowing how things end up, and then especially with Misty, just seeing like little things that like the Ben death and how that affects everybody. I think I can even see it in like older Nat and why she was carrying all this guilt for
Mhm.
so long. It's so sad, and she really is the best of them. But I thought it was pretty interesting. She also, like, by killing Ben, loses her leadership as the queen. And it's like last season she got to be the queen because she did the wrong thing, which was letting Javi die in her place. And in
Hmm.
this season, when she does the right thing by putting Ben out of his misery, she loses the role as the leader. And then honestly, I was like, fuck Lottie. But then I realized rewatching this episode, I think Lottie was actually pretty smart by saying Shauna will lead us because I'm pretty sure Shauna was about to say like off with her head, you know, like she was about to call
Hmm.
for Nat's execution and like immediately calmed down after that. She was like, guys, we got to work as a team. I was like, what? This? Okay, clearly that's all she wanted. So let's just give it to her. And then she was just semi like actually like trying to pull a little Jackie, but it's like she doesn't have the same influence. So it was just more weird. But
It's a
I
good
loved the shift.
that's a good call because just one episode prior, Shauna was like, "Let's burn Coach at the stake." Like,
Alive, like a fucking old timey witch. So I'm saying Shauna just wanted fucking blood and vengeance. And so Lottie, I honestly feel like was actually really smart, like politically making that move. But I feel like it's just hilarious with the rest of the episode how it plays out. That like Shauna and of course Shauna takes over and then shit just gets worse. And I just really
yeah,
am excited to see how she fucking handles shit.
I was I was like, "Oh, we are about to enter a full-blown dictatorship." When Shauna's punishment to Nat was, "You have to prepare the feast."
That was fucked.
I was
That
like,
was
"Oh my
fucked.
God!" And I'm like, "Okay, so we're back to eating people. We're
Yeah.
doing that again."
No talk about it. They're very casual with how quickly they slip back into this because there wasn't even like a confirmed like, okay, so we're gonna eat him. It was gonna we're gonna honor him, which now I know if anyone says they want to honor you, it just means they probably want to eat you.
Yeah.
Stay away from that shit. But yeah, I felt like that was exactly where it was. I just feel like, yeah, it was really nonchalant how they just went right back into the crazy ritual shit of it. But yeah, all the girls obviously as teenagers are crazy, but like even as the adults, I feel like we're getting them equally almost on the crazy levels of the teenagers. I don't know how you feel, but I feel like every week, at least maybe not Misty because she's equally crazy in both timelines, but like she's kind of got her shit together compared to the rest.
Yeah, I am just waiting for the adult craziness for them to full blown revert back
Yeah,
and them eat somebody
they
in
have
the
to.
present day. Like it's
Yeah.
gonna happen. I don't know when, but I feel like that's when the show's gonna come full circle with that moment.
They have to, honestly. And then while we're talking about the adults, I'll just take another victory lap on Dark Tie. I think this
I
episode
I was
just triple
waiting
confirmed
for,
it.
I was waiting for you to take a victory lap because
Yeah. I
yeah, they
already
pretty
did
much
last week,
outright
maybe a
say
little.
it.
Yeah, they said it. I was a little maybe premature last week. I was pretty spot on, but still, this week confirmed. Okay. Obviously, regular Ty that we know is trapped in the sunken place and cannot get out, is what it feels like. Or she's also like, I feel like in Twin Peaks, there's a lot of stuff that's like the the good Dale is trapped in the lodge and he can't get out. That's like a famous line from there. So I do feel like that's very similar to how they're playing it with Lottie here. I know that doesn't mean anything to you if you haven't watched the show, but if you do, you'll probably understand. And also, I think they even, when you call that creepy phone number with the no eyes man, it says the screams are not what they seem. So I think it kind of ties back to like the very crazy ending and like animal weird noises that they've been hearing out. So I'm just pumped. But either way, I called it Dark Tie. She's fucking obviously in control. And the other one calling her from like a fucking phone was pretty nuts. That was not plugged into the wall. I wanted to ask you about this.
I was gonna ask you about this
Does
because
that feel like
th
supernatural
this
confirmation?
this feels like the most supernatural thing that we've seen on the show. I mean, there's been a lot of things, but there are some explanations of the things. But yeah, the fact that I'm like, okay, I can get on board that it's a battery powered phone,
Uh-huh.
but all of Van's shit is old school, and there's no way that phone is not a landline. Like, there's no way that it has like a mobile phone aspect to
Yeah.
it.
Well, even
So
if it
like,
is, what phone would Ty have in her mind to be calling from? That's what I'm saying. Like
yeah, like
it's very Stephen King, honestly. He does this shit where it's like they can call from someone's like they're trapped in their like hiding away in their mind, and they call someone, and then it's like they call through like a fucking gun, and then the person answers it, and they're like talking to the person who's trapped in their head while something else controls their body. It's very weird, but that's what it felt like, where it was like, or I guess kind of almost like it reminded me of Malignant with
Hmm.
Gabriel and the other
Yeah, yeah,
repressed
yeah.
side of her, and he's like using the technology to communicate, or like making the static and like the lights and
Hmm.
shit. And I felt like that's kind of what she was doing here with like making the phone call, like controlling electric waves or some shit. So I
Yeah.
don't know. It could also just be like Van maybe just like having like imagining that as a way to like kind of like bring that thought to the surface that she's been with other Ty this whole time.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I feel like that would be kind of a stretch. It does feel a little supernatural with the call from the other side, and then also when Ty wakes up in bed and is like, like so. That was a
Yeah.
really
Like,
fucking scary moment.
yeah, I feel like at this point, the the hardest plane that they have to land is Dark Tie. Because like there's some explanation for pretty much everything else. They've already introduced the gas.
Yeah,
You sent me the audio of what the screaming could be. You know,
fracking if that was it, but based on the appearance of the people, I actually think they might be playing like animal noises to make other animals like come out of their spots or hiding or whatever to like study them in the woods. But either way, yeah, it just sorry feels like they're going into a natural way, and then this felt like a really sharp turn to supernatural confirmation. But like, I think we'll see. But I guess I don't know. I feel like Dark Tie is the only thing I would maybe be okay with being some weird supernatural possession thing. But like
yeah,
also because they've said it's not like she's. I don't think she's like schizophrenic or has like multiple personalities. They said. And honestly, if the dark tie's been in control, she's pretty good at blending in. I would say
yeah,
outside of her diet, she's pretty good at blending in and her weird ritual sacrifices.
yeah. That was the thing I thought about was like, I could imagine that over the years, Dark Tie has figured out how to blend in a little bit.
Yeah, she's learned
And
quite a lot from her old days of just standing in
the
the trees eating dirt like a psycho.
yeah. Well, and then there's also the fact of like, especially this season, it seems like Ty just is spending all the money possible. Like she's buying all the really nice dinners, everything is takeout. They
All
go to
she's
the
into is
hotel,
self-care.
yeah, all that stuff. And I thought about it a little bit before, but then especially this episode, I'm like, I know Ty was like a senator, but then she's not a senator.
She
She
quit in disgrace or
she
whatever,
quit.
resigned.
I'm like, where is this money? I mean, I imagine she has, as politicians do, they have reserves and all that stuff, and
Maybe her
things.
family was rich too, but like she's got a lot of money. I feel like who knows?
It
But
just it felt so different than anything we had seen prior to this
yeah.
season. Like
Hmm.
just this spending, 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 and like her and her wife
Indulging.
were, they were obviously well off with their house and everything that they had, but you just that habit of just spending a lot of money on
Hmm.
things.
And being
It
obsessed with Van and forgetting about her like wife and child, speaking of them. Like, no wonder it's been dark tide control. 'Cause she's like, I don't give a fuck about them. They were just holding me back from Van. She's all about Van. I wonder what Van will do now that I feel like she pretty much got the message that that the dark tie is in control. So I'm curious what's her move here. Because if she knows
hmm
how to get her out, do you think she knows how to put her away?
Yeah, that's a good question because it's obviously not sex because they're
No.
going to
Yeah.
town on a
That
regular
always brings her out
basis.
is what we learned last at like a couple episodes ago. I feel like this is definitely something I'm curious to find out more about with Dark Tie and like how I mean, honestly, I feel like we're gonna get some fucked up shit from Dark Tie in the past too, because I think in season one, like she tells Shauna, like, you know how bad it can get. And so I'm
Mm,
like, I assume she's doing some really fucked up shit. Maybe she kills and sacrifices somebody else as Dark Tie. Who knows?
maybe. I mean, what if the way that you get rid of dark tie is you have to blue ball dark tie. You have to like
Mm.
hold off on the goods,
I mean, it would
and
make sense.
then normal tie will come back.
I was like, total, that's a way better idea. I was thinking like maybe Van's just gonna kill herself because I was like, that's like really dramatic and extreme. But like she's basically already was like kind of accepted death, and I feel like maybe she might feel responsible for like Dark Tie
Hmm.
being in control. Because maybe once Dark Tie found out she was dying, it's like I'm gonna be with Van every second.
Dude, that would be a pretty crazy scene if Van is trying to blue ball dark tie and then dark tie like tries to force herself on Van. Like, no,
Wow.
you're gonna do me.
Yeah,
That
that might get
that'd
pretty
be pretty
messy
intense.
too. Yeah, honestly, either of these would be messy and intense, but that's what the show is. If it's not messy and intense, I don't want it. So I'm kind of interested in how that plays out. But yeah, I don't know what they're doing necessarily with the supernatural element of it, but I'm very, very, very curious. But I also
Uh,
wanted to briefly talk on Misty investigating in the current timeline, or as an adult as well,
let's do it.
because I know we're going to spend most of our time talking about the crazy ending of this show, this episode, which is like one of the all-time best endings, I think, for an episode ever. Um, but for Misty, I really enjoyed like Walter's car, like stalking her on the street and then handing off the trash from Lottie's. It was
I
just
was
like really weirdly sweet and like
I
kind of
was
cute.
I was gonna ask you. So Walter is loaded, right? Because like
Yeah, he's a millionaire.
delivering trash via limo is such a power play.
That's what
Like,
I'm saying. And he has like I think we've only seen his place once, and it was in season two briefly, and he has like this crazy, really nice place.
and he drives
So
that nice Mustang that he
that's what I'm
was
saying. Yeah.
stalking Shauna in.
He's a millionaire. He like got hit on the head with something, and then he's got like a metal plate, and he became a millionaire. So he's a citizen detective full time now. But yeah, it's really funny. I was like kind of hoping that that might bring them back together because at the very end, when she gets her DNA sample, which Misty's like fucking, it's hilarious that she's like promising this guy maybe a date and getting like
Yeah.
the fucking like lab guy to get her. Okay, I guess I'll help you. It's like running the DNA stuff that when she gets it back, she's like, I have no idea what this fucking means because you need to
Yeah.
compare it. Hence why I wonder if it's going to tie back to someone related to Shauna because he also has Shauna's hair from the previous episode. So,
Oh
like, if
yeah.
he's comparing it with anything and getting a match, unless he's got some other stuff, but like maybe it would be Shauna. But I don't know. I think because Dark Tie's in control, she's still my number one suspect.
Yeah.
Especially because as Misty's investigating, she finds out that Ty met up with Lottie the day she died.
Yeah.
Boom. That was pretty good. Surprise appearance from Lisa from the cult last season. Was not expecting her to make an appearance ever again.
I was gonna say because when I think we talked last episode or maybe the episode before, I was like, whatever happened to that girl?
Yeah, and
Did
I was like, nobody cares. Apparently they do, but I actually enjoyed her like I'll talk to you in public where you
yeah.
can't kill me. It's like that, and then also kind of tied up that loose end question we had about why Lottie was moving around money. And they confirmed that it was a withdrawal and that she did give it
Give it to
to
her.
fucking Lisa, which was like crazy. So she must have known she was about to die. That seems like a very generous gift. To
Yeah.
happen to give someone 30 or sorry, $50,000 on the day. I mean, obviously I see why Misty was like, you probably killed her, but it's like obviously I wouldn't be like anything you could track me down if that was the case. And second, it feels like Lottie knew that she was going to die. So whether or not she was actually murdered is like maybe she was intending to kill herself, is what I would picking up on.
And also, I didn't realize that Lottie died in the basement of the hotel. I assumed it was like it looked like a subway entrance or something.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because it's like where she's lived for her whole life. So I was wondering when she had that vision, her first time of it, did she recognize it right away?
Yeah.
So like maybe she went down there to do her little ceremonies from time to time when they got back and when in between stints in the insane asylum. I have no idea, but I'm curious to see what comes from the DNA that they got under her fingernails and then also just secretly hoping that Walter and Misty get back together. Because, like, I don't know. A lot of people are still extra suspicious of Walter after even this episode. But I'm like, I think he really is trying to win Misty back. But I think genuinely, I hope.
The thing that will be concerning is if Walter comes back and he's like, it's a match, and if the match is different than Shauna, because then that means Walter is collecting everyone's DNA.
That's true. He would have already had it. Maybe he already got Lottie's, honestly.
Like,
He might have already had everyone's, honestly. I mean, if he had her trash, he probably has her DNA, right? If he stole the
yeah.
trash from the place, so he probably swiped some DNA from that. I'm curious what they come back with. I hope that's next episode, but I'm pretty interested because I still feel like Doc Ty is our number one suspect.
hmm
Like I
Yeah.
think obviously without a doubt. And if I find out that it wasn't Dark Ty, I'm still gonna be like, she definitely killed somebody else though. Like
No matter the circumstance, Dark Tie is my number one suspect.
that's
Like,
what I'm saying. She
does
doesn't
not
really,
even matter
yeah.
what it is. Just
She has
it's probably Dark Tie.
And like barely any of the teenagers know about it in the teen timeline. Like not as many people know about that as they should, because that would be a warning thing. And then like, I mean, obviously, I'm sure she doesn't
Yeah.
want to advertise that, but I'd want to know if you were like going to be doing crazy shit or like abandoning us when wolves were attacking in the middle of the night with the only weapon, you
Yeah,
know?
I think more people know that Coach was gay than people actually know about Dark Tie.
Exactly. At least in the like, but then it's interesting because the adults all know about it. They all
Yeah.
make references to it. So obviously she gets up to some shit, but I'm just curious what kind of shit that bitch gets up to. I bet it's not good, basing on her like fucking little ritual she did in season one with the dog biscuits head.
Yeah.
Poor guy. What a good boy. Still sad about
Oh,
that, man. But yeah, should we
all right.
get to like the crazy part of this episode? Or I guess did you want to
So
talk
I
anything about
there's
Shauna?
there so there's one thing that I wanted to ask you about, which was the tape.
Yes, the
And what
dat
did you think of
tape.
that? First off, I was really pissed at the beginning of this episode when I found out that Callie just forgot she had the tape.
No, she
I'm
knew
like,
she had it, but she's like, I can't figure out
she
how to
just
play
never
this.
she just never listened. I'm like, you never listened to it, and then you never just
Googled.
told your mom about it. You just, I'll just hold on to this, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I don't
Stupid
know why.
teenagers.
Why did she have to take it? And she should have kept the envelope it was in because it said Shauna Shipman. So
Yeah.
clearly someone from the past. Someone's only targeting Shauna with this tape, right? So I do feel
Also,
like it could still be someone like Melissa doing it to
it's
like,
definitely Mel because in this episode they also in the past pointed out, I think it was Van said, you know that she calls Shauna Shipman
like Shauna makes her
by
call her
her yeah
Shipman, yeah,
yeah and
because
I was
that's what
like
Jackie did.
yeah
Okay,
okay
they know about it. We all
yeah
know because we were all wondering about it. If you're interested in that topic, I would recommend watching the newest episode of White Lotus. They really go hard onto that whole thing of do you want to be the person or do you want to have sex with them? I don't know. There's a lot of weird fascinations with that lately. But I do feel like Melissa would be the one that would be doing it just because like none of the other girls have gotten a tape. And
Mhm.
we haven't seen what's really on the tape fully because they stop it pretty much like where the episode ends. And you hear even on the recording, I had to rewatch it, but you hear Lottie scream no after like you hear that woman saying like testing, testing. That you hear the girl scream and then you hear Lottie yell no, which is exactly what she does at the very end scene when those people show up. So it's a
Oh
recording of them meeting which I think everyone was calling them like birders, like fucking bird watchers or hikers. But I just saw an interview with the creators and they said they are frog scientists. So we were all kind of right that they were out here studying something else and maybe playing some sounds of animals to get some reactions or whatever, find some shit. Apparently people said it tracks with like studying frogs out in the wildlife. And they definitely heard the women. They were already recording. They heard these weird noises like, huh, is that a new animal? And then they stumble across this fucking cannibal cult, which they don't notice at first. And you hear like when you see everyone starting to stare, you're like, what? And then Lottie just yells, no. And then you
yeah
hear that if you go back, because this is like when you see it all play out is at the very end of the episode. But if you go back and listen to the recording that they're listening to, they cut off right after Lottie screams no. So like it's basically right where the episode ends, where like we don't know what happens to these people. But I think we can assume, based on Van's comment, if anyone who knows about this is either us or dead, that
yeah
these three little scientists are not long for this world either, just like Ben.
I
But I think
didn't
even sooner so.
I did not put those together that that was the recording from the scientist people.
From the very ending of the
Okay.
episode. So I didn't put that together either. I had to rewatch it because it's like you almost need the context from the end of the episode in order to understand that. So it like demands a rewatch basically.
Yeah.
Because you're listening to the recording and you don't know what it is, and you're like you just hear the person say testing, testing. But those are like literally like those things they would be wearing around their necks, like to record things out in the wild. So they also confirmed there's three. We only see the guy from New Girl, and then this other girl who looks an awful lot like Pit Girl from the very first scene of the show. And people have
Oh,
basically said, I think that that's who she is. And then the third person we see in the shadows, Lottie sees him and says Ben before the other two people walk out, and that is supposedly Joel McHale. He is the third scientist, so I guess we'll find that out next episode. But the showrunners confirmed this in an interview already.
interesting.
So yeah,
Okay.
lots of crazy shit to consider here because this is also definitely giving us a window into how they get rescued. However, this episode is most likely taking place in October because it's like Canadian Thanksgiving. It's October, I believe.
I was going
So
to ask
they
you,
don't get rescued till January.
so Canadian, so Canada has a Thanksgiving.
I have no idea. This is what I read on
It's
Reddit,
October.
and people said it's like end of October is like whatever. So I don't know. It's probably not like how we do it, but
Yeah. Because
they do have some sort of thing there.
I was like trying to understand what the name of the title of the episode meant. Thanksgiving parentheses Canada. And like the only
Okay, yeah,
thing I
they
could
do
have
have one.
oh,
It's gives thanks to the bounty of the land and the blessings of the year. It's usually an annual holiday on the second Monday in October.
oh, okay.
So
So
they do have their own
I was assuming that the reference to Thanksgiving was one, they had a feast,
of Ben.
yeah, of Ben, and it was happening in November, but October would still apply because they've already talked about how we're heading into winter. Like everyone's getting it's getting
Yeah.
colder at night. They have all the
Yep.
mentions of that. Also, side note, I think my favorite thing from this entire episode is the bear apron, the bear
Mm-hmm.
fur apron. I'm like, oh, I want that.
Oh, I bet. I bet you do. That would
But
honestly be something great. But yeah, so like I think someone said that they get rescued in like January. So they still have a
okay.
few months. And I know that going into winter, I mean, they just casually ate Ben when they didn't need to, but like they know food will be scarce. They already lived through that. So I don't think they're gonna kill all of the new people right away, but I definitely think they're all gonna die because they're gonna need meat in the winter and people to hunt, I'm assuming. So they might keep them for a little while. I kind of think Glasses guy might be first to go. I don't know. That's just my instinct.
Yep.
He seems like the
That's,
first one to go. His oh shit, like, or what the fuck, excuse me, is like
yeah.
maybe the best ending of an episode of all time. Apparently, to get that take, the director said that the note that they gave him was to do like Chris Tucker version of the what the fuck and like the way that he
Yeah.
reacted. And I was like, oh, that's gold. That's exact. It's so good. But like, cause him looking over and seeing Ben's head on a fucking platter, it's pretty crazy, but it's honestly, this is probably why people have been theorizing it would happen eventually because it's literally like the exact ending of Lord of the Flies, which this
Mm,
show is based on. But that one is about a little group of like young boys, like 11 or 12 or something, and they're trapped on an island and half of them become super religious and believe in this like beast that rules the island and they leave it like sacrifices and shit. And like at the end, all of the boys have like burned the jungle on the island, like burned it all down to try and find the last boy that they're hunting, the main character. And as he's running away from them, he falls down at the feet of like a Navy sailor guy who saw the fire, came to rescue. And all the
oh,
boys, when they find the person, like they're back, it like just all hits them and they all drop everything, all their weapons, and they just start crying because they're like, what the fuck have we become? And
yeah.
they're like 11 or 12-year-old boys. I really love that the women are like, we're going to double down on this shit. However, those boys were not mid ritual screaming around a fire with a head on a platter. So I kind of feel like the Yellow Jackets have a tougher decision, but I definitely think Like they're not gonna go, okay, cool, yeah, take us home. They're gonna go, okay, we're gonna kill you, and then maybe just wait it out for whoever comes looking for you, because someone must know if
Yeah.
they're here for like if the creator said they're scientists, I imagine
Yeah.
someone knows what they are.
Yeah. Yeah,
They're
for
still
sure.
gonna
And
be suspicious when they're found, and they're like, oh, what scientist?
yeah, well, and the yeah, and the whole thing that popped in my mind is like the girls are gonna have to figure out some way of explaining the head, but then also if they're like, what are you guys eating? Like,
I mean, I think they're not going to explain anything to these people. I don't know if you watched the preview for next week, but Shauna's like, we can still get rescued without any witnesses. And they have like knives holding up to them. So I don't think I think Shauna's going to be pretty insistent that we kill all of them right now. And, or maybe just keep one of them as a prisoner. But I imagine they might kill the men at least. And
okay.
because then I don't know, but maybe they don't. Maybe they keep one. But I feel like in the preview, it shows Shauna doing exactly what I would imagine, which is we're gonna kill these people, but like we could still get rescued. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I mean, I feel like that's still a sketchy proposal. Honestly, Shauna, I love that this is happening. Like the first thing that happens when she's the leader that she decides to do, which is to eat Ben and make a fucking nasty cannibal feast out of it with his head. That like decorating a platter with his head was her decision, I'm assuming. And
Yeah.
the fact that like that's technically what got them found, right? Ben is technically the bridge, like Akila said,
Yeah.
possibly. However, this isn't going to be their real escape, but it could eventually end up being if more people come searching for these three new people. That's what I'm
Mm.
thinking, but I don't
Speaking of
know.
speaking of Akila, I wanted to ask you, do you, can you make sense of what the fuck that three-eyed stop
No.
motion grizzly bear was?
I was just thinking of it's like the third eye, like, and I was just thinking like because Lottie is always like has, I don't know, it seems like she has like second sight, which are people always say like my third eye is
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
So I assumed it might be something like that, but honestly, like the way that they were talking about it, and she's like saying all this random nonsensical shit that she's dreaming of, I kind of feel like it's crazy that they're all so concerned with her what her visions are saying because that's what they totally believe at this point. They are so
Yeah.
far gone. Because even Ty is like, well, we don't know. That could all just be stuff from before. And then Lottie's like, maybe you shouldn't try and think about what they're about. And I was like, damn, damn.
Well,
I'm
and
curious.
I was gonna ask you also, so I think it's when Lottie screams no or
hmm
whatever, we get the like static TV effect. And
Oh,
we haven't
earlier when they're just eating dinner and she just screams. It does
yeah, and
have
it's
that
it's
effect.
just like
Yeah.
a flash, and I'm like, we haven't seen that since season two.
Yeah, a little bit with like Ben when he was having those like flashbacks. But honestly, you know what it reminded me of is because like it's kind of the sounds from the intro song that like the
Yeah.
static, and then also the sounds that they were making around the fire kind of sound like shit in the song or like from like the kind of background music that we've been hearing of
Hmm.
like those like ah like
Yeah.
creepy shit. So I was wondering if it was just like oh shit like it's all just like it's all coming true. Like everything is a clue, basically. I don't know. It just reminded me of the intro. So I was wondering if that was the connection because I have no idea. But also like the static with the phone and Ty making a call as an adult, that could also have something to do with it. But I have no idea. I feel like it'd be a weird supernatural element to include. So I feel like it could just be Lottie, or maybe all of their delusions from being out there. And
Yeah.
it's also very reminiscent of the 90s with the little like with the static. So
It's true.
I don't know.
Well, the last thing I just want to bring up, we don't really need to talk about it, but for the sake of consistency, I've been saying I'm on Team Walter as long or up until we have some sort of interaction with outsiders, if that was to happen. So now I am officially keeping my head on a swivel to see if there's any connection between these frog scientists in the past and Walter.
Yeah, lot of people have been feeling suspicious of Walter after this episode because I think it was like especially initially when people thought that they were like bird watchers because like I think
Yeah.
Van even says like the only people that use these are like garage bands or really intense birders and that's when she kind of
Oh
realizes
yeah,
oh
yeah.
shit. And so people were like I think they're bird watchers because like they kind of look like it too. They're like kind of look like dorks, but I think that like just the vests and like the way that Walter is, everyone's like, he's their child. It's like, and he became a citizen detective to find out what his parents went through, which is interesting because like that's what I'm wondering. So whoever sent left the tape, which I still think it's Hillary Swank.
Yeah.
I think one of the Yellowjackets swiped it before they were rescued and took it with them as like possible leverage because
Yeah.
I don't think it survived out there all this time and someone went back and found it after the fact. I
Do you,
feel like someone swiped it for leverage, but I could be wrong. I would have thought it'd be Misty, but the fact that it was Melissa kind of tracks for me. But
do
it could be Walter, I guess.
do you think that, we were saying potentially that Coach would be left behind and then like he finds his way back over however many years the gap is, and then he starts hunting them down. Do you think maybe that is what happens to Mel?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure if anyone's gonna get left behind, but on the one person I could maybe see it, but I kind of feel like maybe Mel is like she's just targeting Shauna because she wants Shauna to like maybe give up her fake life and come be with her for real or something. Like she's turned into a crazy stalker, is what I'm assuming. But like I also have no idea if that's actually backed up. We still have yet to see where that goes. I kind of was thinking maybe it could be Akila if she's in the caves doing her vision shit. Because like
Hmm.
one of her visions in this episode was like everyone at the camp and then like kind of static and then them gone. And she was like, guys, where are you? And it was like, wouldn't that be
Yeah.
fucking nuts if she was having a trip out vision in the caves and they left her there? So fucked. You'd think her parents would be like, all right, let's go. We're gonna go get her. If you guys someone would realize when they were on the plane, right? So like
Yeah, like
unless they
I'm
did it deliberately, which I can't imagine that they would do that to Akila, but maybe to like Shauna's pretty fucking cruel right now, so I do feel like maybe she could do some fucked up shit, leave Melissa for dead, and Melissa is really alive.
yeah, like I I feel like I'm holding on to this idea that someone gets left behind because like at this point they haven't they haven't really hinted or anything that anyone is still alive that they know of.
Like it would be a surprise if somebody was.
Yeah, like when they listen to the tape, they're like the only people who know of this are us and everyone else who knew of it is dead.
Yeah, or
So
they're dead. So who could it be?
so it's like if they think someone's dead, that's why I'm thinking someone or maybe multiple people get left behind in
Hmm.
like I could see them leaving Mari behind because they all hate her.
She does suck. I could see it being her. I feel like honestly that would be hilarious if she left Melissa out there because like Melissa's just such like a fucking just everything for Shauna and I just really want that to be the case right now because I do also feel like Shauna is pretty smart and she would realize that having that chick back in the real world with all of this shit on her would be like a real big wild card that she would not want to leave out there. So maybe they get back and then she kills her. Because I don't know if they're going to leave anyone deliberately behind. I suspect that might
Oh,
be tough to do. But I
that's an
do feel
interesting
like,
idea. They get
yeah,
back and then people die
yeah.
after they get back. Okay, that's interesting. All I want is for Mel to be the one who's trying to hit up Shauna because I want the moment where Jeff
Yeah.
learns that Shauna and Mel were getting
We're,
a little
yeah,
bi-curious.
a little bit
Just
more than
Jeff's
just bi
face.
curious.
Like,
Yeah, I really want Jeff to have this knowledge. People were like like kind of suspicious of Jeff actually this week, which I wanted to mention earlier, but I forgot because it's like so silly. You can't he was the blackmailer, but that was even still just a ludicrous thing he'd never done and he was so stressed. People were like, I think he killed Lottie because the way that he responded when Shauna told him, he didn't seem very surprised. It wasn't like a what? There's no book club? It was like, and I was like, I don't know though. I kind of feel like he was trying to keep it down because it was nighttime. It was like 3 in the
yeah.
morning or whatever. And also, I feel like he probably doesn't care that much.
Yeah, he
Like
he doesn't
Lottie said, he's
like
like,
her.
okay, cool. I don't think he would go and kill her or get out of control. Some people are even saying that Callie did it. I personally, you know what, let's just go for a crazy theory. I hope Crystal's the one that's coming back and fucking blackmailing all of them. That's my long shot theory now that Ben's dead.
Yeah, I think my favorite line of the entire episode was when Shauna got in the car with Van and Ty, and she's like, They're like, you didn't even bring your family. Like, no, Jeff is already in his sleeping underwear.
Sleeping
Like,
boxers. I was like, that's
it's
a
like
thing.
it's a specific pair of sleeping boxers. So
Honestly,
Jeff.
could even be true. That's the thing. She might not have even just made that up. Like that could actually be 100% accurate.
Oh yeah.
I just like this episode, I literally screamed. Like I was like, holy fuck, when those people walked up. Like I was just like, that's such a great moment on this show. I think it's like one of the best things I've ever seen since like even season one. Like this is one of the things that will be like iconic from this series forever. Cause it was just like the perfect ending. The music kicks in, but also like it's almost like you're kind of realizing it slowly with the Yellow Jackets at first,
Yeah.
and it's just like that was just such a crazy ending. I always want the next episode immediately, but like this week, it's like really bad. Like I need to know what happens. I'm so curious.
And
I know it's not going to end well, obviously, for those people, but I really want to see what how they try to explain what's happening.
and we're only on episode 6. We got four, no, three
Yeah.
more full episodes.
Do
Four
we?
more
Is there
full.
8? I think there's 10.
No, there's 10 episodes. So yeah, we have
Yeah.
7, 8, 9, and 10. Four more episodes with this revelation. This is one of those things that feels like, I don't know, a series or a season finale sort of
Yeah.
thing. Like I
Hmm.
think Lost did that with the others or whatever.
Oh, I remember when they fucking opened up that hatch and it was like, what? We're gonna have to wait another season? But it was like pretty, like, that's the kind of shit that you'd think they would do that to make sure you come back. But honestly, I feel like that was so exciting to happen on episode 6 that, like, I can only imagine what's gonna happen for the rest of the season. Like, it's definitely. I think we're gonna get to the point where like the young crazy teen timeline and the adult teen like timeline, they're gonna be so like the characters are finally gonna be like on the same wavelength. And I
Yeah.
cannot wait to see it.
Oh, it's gonna be great. But that's it for this week. And then we will see you next week when we're ready to huddle up.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. We out here.